that are online nowadays, but still, this payroll accounting process remains, pretty the same so far from what I've seen. But approvals, though, have seen, are seeing a lot of changes, especially now that we have to work from home. We're seeing implementation of digital signature, tools, especially in my company. Some entities are already using like things like DocuSign and things like that to approve and sign invoice and things like that in order to accelerate the processes and allow us to work away from the offices. On the record to report side, I think many companies, right, so till now have been using like OCR data input, where you basically have digital invoices or PDFs, and the software will just basically get the info from these documents and input it into the ledger. And we've seen also a lot of use of BI tools, basically, to aggregate all this information and create dashboards or various reports for the business and various shareholders within the company. As we have tried to implement, new solutions, and as well as many of my colleagues before, what we have noticed was that it's a lot more easier to automate basically more administrative and rule-based as well as repetitive tasks, because they're really easy and they're really easy to put into formulas, basically. So it's really easy to code them and automate them right away. So they are a good way to start pilots and things like that. Second, and this was the biggest point for me, right? You have to gain consensus from other business units as well as your own teams in finance, because if people start feeling that the project is just a burden for them, or they're just going to be replaced by robots or new softwares, then they'll lose basically the motivation or anything, the drive to help you basically complete this project or even put it into place. And this is a very, very, very important point for me. And third point, which is a bit linked to the second point as well, is to take into account, human capital, because people have to feel that, there are benefits for them and as well as for their careers when you try to implement, digital solutions, because, if they don't feel comfortable or secure with these things, you may end up having, good people leaving the company. And
hey, Laurent, sorry to cut in real quick, but we can't see your presentation.
You cannot see my presentation?
No.
Can you see it now?
Yes, you're all set.
Okay, strange. I thought I was sharing all along. Sorry. Yeah, so coming back to the key learnings, right? Human capital is quite important. So you have to build employee loyalty around your digitalization initiatives in order to move forward with them and being successful in implementing them. And talking about actually implementing them and thinking about what you want to digitalize, right? Depending on where you are now in your digitalization journey, you need to basically think of where you are, right, as a company, how much digitalization you actually need, and what you want to digitalize first, because everything that depends on where your business is, what are your current business needs, and what as a business you can realistically achieve, depending on your financials, the people you have, and the skill sets, and so on. There are a lot of these factors that you need to take into account, right? And you also have to think about the tools you want to bring in. It's not only about bringing like those names that you hear on the market that are really famous and things like that. But you have to think of the tools that really match your business needs as well, and think of train your people to adopt these tools as well. So if you move to take something really complicated, it might be a tough task for you in the long run. And as you move up the different stage of your digitalization journey, you will see that the finance function will move from a cost-focused entity, just gathering data about cost and transactions, to a more proactive and strategic-minded function, where people in finance have more time to think basically of what other business are doing and how as finance we can contribute, and how we can use the data that we have right about the business, about the activities, to bring an impact to their decision making on a daily basis. And this is really important. And to give you a few examples of areas where you can think of implementing digitalization, right, from what we've seen so far. I think the focus will be more on the financial accounting side, where you have invoice inputs, creation of your financial statements, input of the ledger, as well as automated approval for your procurement or even accounts receivable processes as well. Of course, other areas, have opportunities for automation, but well, some of them, like where you have to, do reporting to regulators and things like that, have basically less immediate value for the business itself, because usually, especially here in Japan, regulators will provide you all the forms that you need, right? And you already have all these forms as well in softwares and other ERP softwares. So you don't need to do much effort on this side. But you can bring if you want, and if you think that it's going to add more value to your function and your business, you can do that, no problem. I've seen many organizations, especially in the financial services, actually working on that side a lot, because regulation is a big thing for financial services, right? So you need to be quick to respond and be able to generate all these reports in a timely manner whenever they're required, and guarantee that they are all accurate all the time. Otherwise, you may end up with being in a lot of trouble sometimes. Well, I've talked about what digitalization can bring us, where we can have opportunity to digitalize, and basically by doing that, what do we basically get, right? For me, I can summarize it into 3 points. Of course, there are a lot of positives that I saw from that, but sorry, there are a lot of positive things that I saw during the digitalization process. But for me, especially during the COVID period, COVID has allowed us to accelerate change on our digitalization journey. It has forced us basically to adopt new technologies and ways of working that have actually been around for a long time, right? But for various reasons, we haven't been able to adopt them, or not really willing to adopt these new technologies and make changes. Digitalization and COVID as well has been a workforce enabler for us, because as we moved to working from home, a lot of people have been in contact with new technology, so they've improved their digital and technological literacy, and further basically enhance this feeling to embrace technology in their daily work, and as professionals as well. And third of all, we've seen COVID has helped us and digitalization as well, to be more friendly to our environment, right? we print less. We think more about what we actually need. Everything is, PDF or, digital based in whatever format we want. And it has allowed us to accelerate many things and also have more balance into our, family life and basically in general, our life outside, our professional life, if I can say it like that. That's all from me today. So I'll, pass it to the next speaker and looking forward to hearing from you and your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laurent. So yeah, next we have Tatsuo Mikoda, who's going to give us his presentation. So
Right.
Tatsuo, go ahead and pass it off.
Yeah. Let me share my screen first. William, can you tell me if you see okay?
Yep, you're all good.
All right, great. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Tatsuo Mikoda, and I'm also same as you that still haven't challenged how we can digitalize the finance, in accounting. And I hope my session going to be give you some idea how we can successfully introduce the technologies, and also how we can avoid like failures, because there's a lot of learnings I have had. So let me explain a little bit about myself first. So currently, I'm working for 2 companies. I think it's quite strange, but so one is the company name is Oakland Marketing. So this is a pure Japanese company established by American in Nagoya, and we do the direct marketing, the business. I can go through in the next slide, but so there I'm doing the financial divisions head and leading like 15 people. And at the same time, I'm working for AI Force Solutions. This is the AI venture company. So providing the like AI SaaS product to the client. And I'm working as a strategy officer. So having a strategy in place, how we can survive in this competitive, the work competitive environment. And before joining these 2 companies, I was working as an auditor at KPMG. And later on, I joined Johnson & Johnson as a financial controller for medical device mainly. And lastly, I was working at the Cookpad. So this is the Japanese company providing the platform for cooking the recipe to the global, and which is the tech company, which is very interesting. So let me explain a little bit about Oakland Marketing. I think it's good to explain that to see this is the basis what finance accounting is do. So the company is the annual sales is 60 billion Japanese yen, and we have 700 people in place. And the business direct marketing, as I said, so mainly we do TV shopping, and also we do like newspapers ad, and we have e-commerce. And not sure whether everyone sees these TV commercial, but we we sell the unique and various product. You see the pictures on the right hand side of the slide. So our big business is the one you see the mat list. So this is the market leader of the home bedding market in Japan. And also we have like personal like air conditioner. You know that Japan is very hot in summer, right? So we sell that you can use just for you. And we also sell like the fitness product and also cooking. So it's kind of very various. So when we're doing that business, I think it's common to the like TV shopping and also the like e-commerce kind of company. So we have enjoyed like top line increase significantly in the first half of this year. I mean the last year. So we have to react to that, and in that situation, of course, we have a lot of orders in place in call center, and we have to ship a lot of product in the SCM supply chain. So we have to handle that operation as well. And at the same time, so we have to delay the like TV creative like shootings. So due to COVID-19, we can't, just gather and do it. And at the same time, we also had like full remote working environment. So this is kind of, was good thing happen, as Lawrence said, and that makes people more, kind of open to, go for digitalization. So that's the overview of the, open marketing. And what we did in the finance and accounting area for digitalization so far. So there are several things, but let me point out 3 items. So first one is the financial closing with full remote involvement. So this has been achieved both in the year-end closing and also the monthly closing. So I said it's full remote, but of course sometimes or people go to the office to pick up some like invoice or receipt later on the paper basis. So that's something we can't avoid. But anyway, so the closing is mostly done from home. So this was easy to done. It's because all the company accelerated and put the remote working in place for whole company. So this was, so easy for us to ask for support from other departments to achieve that. So there's a interesting story that, so before COVID-19, the company had trial on remote working, and however, the people who wants to join, the trial was kind of limited, very much limited. And at the same time, we start using chat tool, but that was also, people kind of hesitated to go for that. But so when COVID-19 happens, and it just went through at once in like 1 month or 2 months. So that was kind of success factor, but that's external, thing we couldn't control. But anyway, that was kind of, one thing, I did find as a success factor. And secondly, the appropriate security in place. So this was something important that our company is having a strong and solid security policy in place. So because the company is the subsidiary of NTT, so that, and therefore, so we have to put this strong security policy in place. So what does it mean? Is finance and accounting. So we use the ERP system for the finance, but we could not, access to the ERP, the accounting system from home before, because we strictly, that prohibit access from outside of the office. But this time, so we have, asked for the regular process now, which become, the normal. But so we asked to have the access to the ERP from home, so people can just do the, the closing and accounting process, everything from outside of the office. But at the same time, we put the security policy that you cannot like work from like cafe or like share your office. So we have to come up, the policy in throughout the company. Just you can access from your home or office. So that's quite important, to have a security, appropriate security in place. And secondly, the paperless. So if you start remote working, of course, you have to put all the like papers in electronic file, hopefully. So like invoice, also the employees receipt, reimbursement, also the contract. So you want to put in the digital signature, right? And so this is something we have in place, but actually it's very much challenging to fully, make the papers less. So the success factor is that we started from where we can. So quick win and small start is kind of the key, because it's very much challenging in current Japanese society to fully implement that. So where we can start, if you have like the customer or supplier who is collaborated, then just start paperless. And digital signature, if the counterparty approves, then we just start using the digital signature for the contract. And I think that's the success factor. You can start from one by one where you can. And the third item is the rapid introduction of accounting system. So as I said, we are using ERP. However, so we have the subsidiary, which is doing a bit different business. It's kind of more venture. And initially I was thinking to implement the same ERP to those small companies. But ideally decided to use the more, the SaaS, more like newly, the small accounting system, which is more flexible and which is more suitable to those, the small entity. So the thing is that, so if the company having a simple business with small entity and small people, so it's not always good to, just introduce the same ERP, which is too heavy to put that in the operation of the smaller company. So that's something, has been, avoided in my team so that it's easy for the small companies to put the accounting system in 1 or 2 months. So be very flexible. So that is what is going on in the local marketing, finance, and accounting team. And here, let me introduce the digital transformation maturity model. So this is what AI4 solutions provide, but I think you see the similar maturity model in in different ways. But if you see that level 1 is like very much ad hoc basis on the technology perspectives, like Excel macro or prepare like detailed manuals. And level 2, so that's upon opportunity, like project basis, like introduce system or like change the employees expense reimbursement process, that kind of stuff. And level 3 is activity become functional. And level 4 expansion. And level 5 is destructive. So I think people have some image on the destructive, right? Like every accounting process become automated. And like AI do everything for you, and we don't need any more people. So we have an image, but actually the technology itself is not yet there. I would say the small, medium-sized entities and most of the companies are still level 1 and level 2. And actually the local marketing is also still in the level 2. And the level 3, the cross-functional, so meaning that DX team is appointed and the specific person in charge to process all the Kaizen and process the training among the organization. So these are typically done by the huge companies, the larger size of the company, which like the Ministry of the economy defines those companies as the DX stocks companies. There's like 30 or 40 companies listed. So the message is the small, medium size. Level 3 is a bit crucial. I mean, too much challenging, I think, because those like DX stocks companies as well, like every new technology introduction is kind of try and error. So still the technology is improving and it requires quite a lot of effort on cost and also the human resource wise. And let me go on to the next slide is that, so I think same as this seminar, we see so many seminars, articles about digitalization maybe in DX. But from my learnings and what I see in the the AI company, I really recommend to take a moment. So before you rush to the introducing the new technology. So here's some typical key technologies I see in the market. And I think everyone sees it is OCR, RPA, chatbot, and AI. So the key question So how we can really utilize that to transform the finance and accounting? So here's some questions like OCR. So it automatically make the papers to PDF. Maybe we can achieve paperless. But I would suggest that one question is that can we reduce papers before trying to make it PDF? So RPA is also the same. So RPA, can we stop doing that task before make it automated? And another question is, so this is something, I had experience of failure, but so if you want to implement RPA, do you have an idea of who can maintain RPA continuously? So this is kind of critical that RPA is not that easy. Actually, I myself, try to, I have, done certification of some RPA product, and that requires like 5 working days to become like a RPA specialist. And even you implement RPA, it always needs to be maintained. That is same as other systems. So if anything changes, RPA doesn't work. So someone needs to fix it. So you really need to, have person in place to maintain RPA. So that needs to be considered. And like chatbot, also, that's also similar to your question. But so before, replacing the people to answering the customers to chatbot, can we reduce the number of customers like question, like improving the instructions and manuals, or like improving the product or service itself? So otherwise, you always, we have like a number of, the contacts from customers, right? And what I see is that most of the chatbot product, they provide service based on the number of contacts. So you really need to reduce the number of the contacts to enjoy the cost benefit. And lastly, AI. So AI can do like various things, but I think the finance, the people use this as like the forecasting, and also like identifying like the alertness, journal entries, something like that. But like forecasting, can we like stop forecasting long-term sales in this VUCA world? So that kind of question needs to be raised. So AI is still challenging part that all like major companies are doing the trial and error. So meaning you need a lot of resource. And even AI can do forecasts, the people needs to make some adjustment. Because like weathers, AI can count that. Or like new product never happened, then that's something people needs to do it. So AI is still a challenging part for the the small medium-sized companies, especially. So these are some key questions from my learnings for all the like technologies and how we can digitalize the finance and accounting. And hopefully this is this give you some tips before you really rush to the the technology implementation. Right. So that's all my presentation, and I'm going to pass to the next presenter.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, thank you for guiding this this webinar. I'm glad to be given the opportunity to discuss about digitalization in accounting and finance. A little bit of context. So, who I am. By education, I'm an engineer, IT engineer, and I moved into finance about 9-10 years ago after getting an MBA. So, in that sense, what I'm going to share with you tonight will be probably a little bit enthusiastic from the benefits we can get from digitalization and IT in the finance practice. So just to give you a little bit of caveat here. Regarding my experience, so I've been lucky enough to work in a wide range of industries and roles, including IT consulting in Europe. In the automotive business, I was in a car equipment manufacturer in Europe, a Japanese car equipment manufacturer based in France, in Europe. in charge of system development, actually, of a new, back then it was a new car navigation system, very exciting when you are an IT engineer. Then I got my MBA, and I started working, jumping into the finance area from that one on. First with a low-cost airline that had just been launched in 2012, Jetstar Japan. If you've used it, maybe you know what the company is about. Was the startup phase, so they were looking for someone to look after the FP&A and put the financial planning and analysis team in place. I had no background in finance, no experience in finance whatsoever, but I was very excited about the challenge working in a startup. Had a genuine passion for airlines and a low-cost model that was quite disruptive in Japan at that time was also very interesting, I found. So I joined the team in finance. I learned from the bottoms up, and I ended up few years down the road, also being in charge of financial controlling, so accounting as well. I will relate to one project later in this presentation that took place at Jetstar. And now, since 2016, if I'm not wrong, it's probably a little bit wrong. I've moved to the other end of the spectrum, so from low-cost airline to luxury fashion and high jewelry retail industry. First at Boucheron as a CFO, was looking after finance and IT. And since 2019, so June 2019, about 1.5 years ago, I joined Valentino Japan, so the Italian fashion brand, as CFO, looking after finance, IT, and logistics. So all in all, I've been working 9 years in finance in Japan, mostly for small subsidiaries of foreign multinationals. So Boucheron, Jetstar, which is from Australia, Boucheron, which is from France, and so Valentino, which is from Milan, Italy. And I've been involved in several digitalization projects. So I'd like to share a little bit about my experience in being involved in these projects. And above all, so I'm very enthusiastic about what IT can bring, hopefully, to a better finance and accounting practice. So before going to the examples, I'd like to share a bit my view or my take on digitalization in finance and what it means to me. I think it's not the end goal. I mean, there's no pure benefit in digitalizing finance per se, but I see it really as an enabler, and Laurent and Nicolas have already shared their very good insights on that one. So you can, by digitalizing your processes in your finance function, you can optimize your resource utilization. So you can reduce costs, not reduce your headcount, but I would say rather reallocate or better utilize the people you have to different tasks and more interesting tasks for them and for the company, bringing more value. And also environmental impact is also one of the benefits. Well, you can reduce the environmental impact through digitalization. It liberates your employees, something that Laurent also touched on. So you can have your people become, okay, there's a sentiment of fear, probably, just to begin with. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to be made redundant. I'm going to be replaced by chatbot or a robot or automating processes. This is to me, this is absolutely not the point of the use that we should make of digitalization and IT in general. I think it should liberate people from those nitty-gritty, very transactional, time-consuming, and very low-value creating tasks, and delegate that to the systems, your robots or whatever, however you want to call it, AI or the funky words we hear those times, and then have your people focus on important tasks that are that has more meaning, more sense to them, like analyzing what your company's finances are looking like, and what you can build from that in terms of decision making. What kind of insight you can get, rather than rushing like crazy just to be able to close your books by the deadline for your month-end closing, and not even have the time to think a little bit why you are doing that, what you are doing that for. So all these rushing and maybe transactional tasks, move that to the systems who are going to do it, and that's my third point. Anyways, they can do it more accurately and more timely than human beings, and by turning paper into data, you can then run that data. You can run the numbers. You can analyze numbers, and that opens a brand new range of tools and I would say, possibilities for the people to understand what the company, how the company is doing, and how we can build on that data to create, to reduce costs or improve efficiencies or make better usage of our assets, these kind of things. The main obstacles to digitalizations I have faced especially in Japan is the first line is typical. It's not something I invented. It's something I heard from a former colleague of mine who's now working in a big airline, in a very, very high position in the finance team. I will not mention more than that. But basically his stance was paper never breaks. So don't come and ask me to use Excel or these kind of things. Because once you print it, you can store it, you can find it again. That's a point of view, but that's probably kind of point of view or standpoint that has been guiding a little bit people until recently. And this was one of the main obstacles. If you got it on paper, you can store it, you can retrieve it, and it's not gonna shut down. If you pull out the plug, it's not gonna disappear. Hanko is another one, so stamping. Although I have the feeling that it's becoming less, how to say, I don't have so many stamping, I would say, requests, not as many as I used to have, and even before COVID. It's really limited to new contract signatures, these kind of things, which still have to happen depending on the partner you're contracting with. Still have to happen with on paper with the Hanko. But internally, we don't have the kind of pass on the paper to the next person, and you have to have everyone's sign with the Hanko to move on. That's not really happening. And fax. Something I'm always amazed about is that in the era of email and mobile phones and everything, you still have business partners who cannot do without the fax. So it's still better than sending a paper letter, but it's still so much useless when you want to digitalize and to use the data on whatever you're faxing. Another one is slow adopters. So this has also been very well explained by Laurent. So the governments, the mega banks, the tax authorities also, they request, until a few years back, they requested to store whatever tax receipts for 7 years or 10 years or these kind of things in paper. Department stores also, this is an area, this is in the retail industry, it's typical. So department stores still have very dated processes. And okay, when I was mentioning fax, this refers to department stores. They still want to send and receive data by fax sometimes. And these are external kind of obstacles. But internally, there are also some reluctance at times. So the fear to change. Yeah, your processes are in place. Okay, it's tedious, takes time, takes effort, takes overtime, these kind of things. But at least in the end, you get there. So why put an extra the extra burden of having this change project or this transformation project? I'm not even sure it's going to work. I'm not even sure it's going to be more. What is it going to bring me? Really, I cannot see a tangible effect just right now. And where to start? That's more for the people, for managers, management. Where to start? Okay, digitalization. Yes. Okay, sounds great. But how do I? Yeah, what is the first stone I put on to bring my to build my digitalization journey? And also, yes, there's no time to do it, and there's no money. It seems very expensive. It seems to be very complicated. Must require a lot of skills, knowledge, new competencies we don't have. It's going to be difficult. So this is another obstacle I found. But as I said, so things are changing. I mean, my two colleagues mentioned it. So really, the COVID-19 and the coronavirus crisis. I mean, it took this crisis for even the government to understand that, and even the mega banks. I mean, the relationship I've had with the mega banks before and after the COVID-19 is radically different. They have been, I mean, very, I think, violently forced to adapt to the fact that people are not going to be in the office. If your wire transfer has an error in it, you will not be able to get someone on the phone or at the end of the fax when you send it to the head office. So you have to find a way to deal with it, to manage the error differently. So now they send emails, these kind of things. That was quite a big step, I found. It's already happening. I mean, we're already digitalizing. Sometimes we forget it, but we're not using paper and pencil to build our income statements. We are already using Excel, computers, macros to some extent. So as Mikoda-san mentioned, we are, I think most of the companies that are attending this webinar are probably at level 1 already. We have this kind of like beginning of digitalization already in place. Digital invoicing, sending and receiving invoices by email has also gained a lot of momentum. Obviously, also downloading your statement or your transaction report from the business partner, from their website or from their dedicated server. That's also something that has been more and more widely adopted. And even that the government or the tax authorities have been slow. I mean, there still exists a lot of opportunities to digitalize, like e-tax is already in place, e-banking, audit practices. Just been through the full year audit for Valentino. It's still going, and now it happens that to check the balances with your business partners. Now they have the big fours. They have joined forces and they have externalized it, and now everything is digital. So you receive your partners, you send them the list of partners with the addresses, and they manage it, and then they will put it in the database, and we will receive it together with the auditors. So things are progressing even in this slowly moving areas. And last one is the tax receipts. Tax receipts, the digital storage of tax receipts has been requested but not in place in Japan for a very long time. It has been passed as a law, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. I remember during my time at Gesta, it was just being implemented, and this is, I believe, one big game changer for the future of the finance function. Let me give you very shortly, let's say, an overview of three projects I've been involved in my previous roles in previous companies, and in the context of digitalizing the finance function. First one is the Concur. I don't know if you've heard about it. Concur is a system that enables you to, with your phone, you take a picture of your receipt when you go on business trip, all these kind of things, and you can basically post your expense claims into the Concur system digitally using the paper, and then it's linked to your ERP. You've got a booking. If you want, you've got a booking module to book your trips, following your according to your travel policy. You've got an approval flow also embedded in it. So it's very it's a very nice product and very useful. Even in Japan, it works quite well. A lot of those systems have been developed abroad. I've experienced it quite not so user-friendly when it comes to localization in Japan. Like, language is poor and the interface is not always great. I find Concur is quite good, quite well implemented, quite well localized in Japan. The second one is the Kiriba. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's it's a cash management system that if like in Valentino Japan, you are using different banks, like different Japanese banks, mega banks, you have to access each and every e-banking site to approve the payments or to submit a payment request. With the Kiriba, you can merge them, you can consolidate them, and it supports approval flow, it supports overseas payments, and you retrieve your data, your transfer data in or out almost real time, so you can check very easily. And for us, also as a subsidiary of an Italian company, so all the data is consolidated for all the subsidiaries, and the headquarters can have access to the cash position and the cash movements of all the subsidiaries. So that's one of the benefits, I would say, of being part of a group, is that these kind of projects have it would be costly, I believe, for a standalone company, are quite provide quite big benefits for us. Last one. Okay, the last one, I put successful with some adaptation for the first two. This one was a little bit more challenging, let's say. The idea was coming from Australian headquarters for all the subsidiaries to outsource the transactional, accounts payable, the invoicing, invoice treatment process to an overseas partner. so not Japanese. And when you hear that, first that raises the red flag. Japanese language is going to be an issue, and it became the biggest issue. First, how do you share your invoices? Do you send them paper, like we're still 6 years ago? Do you send the paper to the Philippines to be treated? No, you have to scan them. Who is going to scan them? And OCR. So we mentioned OCR. OCR with Asian languages, with Japanese. When it's digital, when the document is digitally can work. When it's a printed document that you have to read with OCR technology, ain't gonna work, and didn't work. So it was very, very painful, very painful process. So we had to make a lot of adaptations to the original goal. We managed to get it done to some extent, reducing the scope and finding some workarounds, but it was a tough one. So not 100% digitalization, but it required a level of digitalization in order to outsource offshore the processes, and that piece was quite difficult. So Japanese language often comes as an obstacle when it comes to digitalizing using non-Japanese products, I would say, or technology. The future, how I see the future. Just to go back a little bit on the recent trends or the past trends in finance and digitalization in particular, but that happened mostly in big companies, I would say. There was a big fad about business process outsourcing and offshoring, and the project with Jetstar was one of them. Big companies, they have enough money and enough resources, even enough people internally to carry out very big transformation projects and hire IT consultants that are going to come, they have the experience, and they will charge a lot, but they will get things done eventually. And shared services was also one other big, I would say, trends, especially in big corporations, where you have, for instance, at Kering, which Boucheron belongs to. There are several brands, so like Gucci, Balenciaga, these kind of things. And so there was a benefit in putting the finance function in a shared service, and then use that as use digitalization to manage the processes for so many brands with not the sum as of all the different people in the different brands in the finance team. So reduce the headcount there. Now we are in this webinar mostly smaller companies, so we don't have all those consultants we can pay. We don't have all those needs for offshoring probably. But I think that there has been a lot of development in the like safe-made or homemade in-house kind of process automation. Not necessarily robotic, but at least some level of automation. And now the tools I found are available at last. So I'll give you the example of Office 365. I mean, on the next slide, it's not, not a commercial, TV commercial for Windows, Microsoft at all, sorry. But with a standard Office 365 license for a company, you can get access to all these applications here. Especially, I'd like to point out that forums, SharePoint, Teams, list, Power Automate, and Power Apps are quite useful, quite powerful, even if you are not a programmer or a professional in IT. It will require some training, some desire to learn, but I mean, really the objective is no-code or low-code programming or low-code automation. A little bit higher in the skill set scale or UiPath is another one, but yeah, for that one you need a little bit more knowledge and being a bit more IT savvy. There are a lot of training available, especially free training, very active communities. I've been using it personally, and yeah, I've always found answers to the questions I had, even without asking them. There was already someone who had already asked them, and I've been able to put in place a easy, simple invoice approval flow with these bits of software. It's quite powerful, and I think, yeah, instead of going out to offshore your AP or your transactional functions, or asking consultants to do it, there will be more and more, I think, opportunities to do it yourself, or with the help of much more affordable consulting support, let's say, consulting firms. So where do you start? And that's going to be the last part of my my presentation. Go ahead, go first with for the low hanging fruit. I mentioned eTax, very easy to use, and it's linked to your e-banking system. You can really avoid going to the bank or even to the tax office to pay to process your payment. Approval process is another one, very easy to automate with the tools I just discussed. Lingi, the same kind of idea. I've seen Lingi process with paper passed on from one person to the other, manager, senior manager, whatever. Do that. You can do it by email, but I mean, we have better tools now for free or for cheap. Next one, as Nicolas mentioned, next step will be to move your expenses, your invoices to the digital world. So with the caveat that if you do that, you will not be able. You will still have to keep paper for some time until last point in my slide is you have to get your system certified by the tax authority before you can digitalize all your tax receipts. Those that you receive digitally, you can do it from the beginning. You don't need to have your system certified. But those that you scan, you receive on paper, you have to keep them on paper, except if when you scan them, the system that scans and keeps and tracks the changes to the documents, whatever, has been certified by the tax authority. Then you are free to scan your receipts and get rid of the paper. Okay, that's all for me. So thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to discussing with you on the questions.
Thank you very much for the insightful presentations to all the panel. So the first question is for Laurent. So how can we reduce non-digital work without customer supplier cooperation or uniformed formats that can be scanned and uploaded to the accounting system?
Again, I would say it very much depends on what kind of tools that you have available in your company at the moment, right? If you don't have anything, for example, there are outsourcing solutions, for example, where you ask a third party, for example, to scan your data, and you build your software side in-house to basically read from these PDF and upload into your system if you have the right system for that. Or if you don't have outsourcing, but you have enough leverage to ask your your third-party suppliers or clients, which is probably unlikely, to change the way they send you invoice. Why not? Or you can even probably create a platform, right, where you ask them to upload all the information that they need to send you and things like that. There are probably many solutions there, but you have to think in terms of practicality. What are your current processes? How you can simplify them first, and then what are the best tools for you, for your staff, for your company, what you can afford, basically, in order to make that change happen. Because there are many solutions there, and people can think of so many things. And Alexandre and Mikoda-san also showed a lot of solutions, right? You can use all of them, but again, it has to be in line with where your company is and what you can afford at the moment.
Great, thank you, Laurent. Thank you, Laurent. So next question is for Mikoda-san. So what skills do you think are needed to succeed in digitalization in accounting and finance? What would you say are the top skills that are required?
I think that's a good question, but I think from technical wise, of course, people can study like RPA, AI, whatever. So there's a bunch of information, as an Alex referred to, that there's a bunch of training online there. But I think the important thing is that the finance and accounting, but people need to have the mindset what you really want to resolve. What's the issue you want to resolve? So digitalization or like technology is just one of the tools. So it's very important to people to have this. Why are we doing this? So that kind of mindset is very important to people to have that as a logical mindset. As a it's not only for finance, but I would say that especially a finance and accounting person also needs to have that kind of the way of thinking to make the digitalization successful.
Right, thank you. Anything further to add on that question, Laurent or Alexandre?
Well, I think recently one of the key skills to have, even for accountants, right, is problem solving. This is the key to anything. And you have to be a good communicator as well. Yeah, right? It's not about collecting data, crunching the numbers, and providing to anyone else. No, it's more about understanding where the problem is and what contribution you can make to the company. And this is not a skill that you go somewhere and learn on the software. You have to learn it as you go and as you work on your project and try to understand your company, your business, and your processes.
Right, thank you, Laurent. So next questions for Alexandre. So big firms have accounting firms at their service. They have all the resources for that. For smaller companies, how can they take advantage of new trends in digitalization?
Yes, thanks, Simon. That's a very good question, and I think I tried to touch upon that one in my presentation. Now the tools are becoming more and more available to smaller companies. Until now, only companies with big pockets or with big IT teams or big project teams were able to drive transformation projects, especially IT transformation projects. Now it's becoming more and more available. The barrier to entry has been reduced considerably. So that's, use the tools and start low, start small, start with quick wins, like very small projects, small things that you in your team, in your in your team's day of work, you see that is taking so much time, but delivering so little value that, okay, let's start with that. Looks easy. I mean, okay, why do you have to come every day, every other day with a paper to sign? Go to like take five of them, or like every week or every 3 days. Go to the printer, scan them, send them to put them in the approval process that you've just very simply developed, and then you've got approval 1, approval 2 done. Then you can move on, instead of chasing people. Oh, he's on holiday today, or he's on business trip, or yeah, he forgot to look at it and to sign it. This kind of very practical things. I think that's I would suggest to start with those, like feasible, and you can use an example to then try to convince even the people that can be reluctant to the change.
Great, thank you. And then the last question. This one's open to any or all of you. So when there are instances when business partners refuse to utilize new technologies that you've implemented. So, for example, something simple like paperless invoices. How can you handle that? How can you get over that?
If I can take it first.
Sure.
I think I would see it at different levels. At the senior leadership level first, they have to be able to communicate their vision, their goal, and actually what benefit it brings at each level of the organization. Because in the end, the people downwards are the one who are going to implement it. So they have to understand, what does it bring to me? What do I gain in doing this, and not my BAU job, right? So the vision of the company is there. And then second, people have to understand also what value they bring into the whole process and take ownership of these changes. Because in the end, if they benefit from it, they should, it's their life who's getting better, right? They should understand that, take accountability for it, and probably even integrate it to their performance, measurement, and also the career development process. It will help them a lot more. They will be more motivated into moving into that. For your suppliers, your customers as well, cost-cutting opportunities for them, new ideas, new processes for them. It's all good for everyone. Everyone wins. For your employees, same. They learn new things. They can, they become more valuable on the market because they have these new skills, right? Their future is not necessarily in the current company. They can develop and go bring all this experience elsewhere, and become recognized because they gain that in your company, and it benefits your company in the end as well.
Great, thank you. And any further comments on that one from the panel?
Yeah. Let me add a little bit thing that I fully agree to Laurent that the management teams, the leadership is pretty much important. But let me talk a little bit about what I have experienced about the paperless. So we have considered how we can do that for the invoice, and that's already several years ago. But the ideally, we realized that it's pretty much difficult to all the counterparty, like customers and suppliers, they fully agree to, or the way of doing the paperless. So in the end, we stop using our time for the uncontrollable, the negotiation with them. And there were one option. So we can use the agency or the company providing the service. So they gather all the invoice, all the everything for you. And they do all the paperwork with them, and we just can send one invoice and just do that in an electronic file. So that was kind of an easy solution.
Yep.
But but so we have to pay like 2, 3, 4, 5% of the commission fee. So we we decided it won't pay. So we just gave up, doing all the electronic transaction for that. But if the company really want to have like small team, even you pay for that, but you want to digitalize and just go for it, and I think that's good. But at that time, myself and my team was decided not to go for that.
Yeah.
I fully agree that the management team has to show leadership and by themselves, to commit for the digitalization.
Yeah, so it kind of has to come from the top. Any further comments on that question?
No, I fully agree. I mean, top management, buy is necessary, and I can relate to that because at Valentino Japan we were absolutely not, for instance, not ready for work from home, and that was actually against the idea of a standard way of working, and I mean it triggered or a lot of fears in some of the top management people here. So they didn't want to hear about it. I experienced it when I was working at Jetstar. I mean, voluntarily, we had the opportunity to work from home couple of days per week, and I was wondering if that will be feasible here. And told me, no, I don't know if you're gonna. Well, we don't have this kind of policy. We don't know if people will be seriously working from home, this kind of thing. We cannot control them, blah, blah. But then, bang, COVID comes, and within a week, my IT team, we had to equip everyone with computers, Wi-Fi devices, and VPN and everything to be able to work from home. And the conclusion is, okay, if you go against the trend, even as top management, at some point the trend will catch you. So, but again, because of that that resistance, this kind of I think this kind of benefit from working from home or teleworking was never implemented. And back to Nicolas and Laurent's point, if you want things to move, especially in Japan, I would say, it has to come from the top.
Yeah.
And I mean, the top has to show the example, has to lead the example, not necessarily impose it, but at least show that they approve it. Otherwise, yes, your employees will look upwards and say, okay, is the boss moving or not? Okay, let's wait for them to make the first step, and then we'll follow. But if there's no desire or even resistance, there's no way it's going to work. Same for digitalization or transformation in the processes, the way people work. Whether the process is good or bad, especially bad, but it's become habit. We've always done it like that. That's the thing I always get when I try to change things. Why change? We've always done it this way. Yeah, okay, but let's try it this way because the benefits are these, and those. Okay, there are some drawbacks, but think of the benefits, the bigger picture.
Yeah, great. And then just finally, the last question, final question to all the panelists, just a yes or no. So do you think that COVID-19 has improved the lives of accounting and finance professionals in Japan? Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Not yet.
Not yet. Laurent?
A definite no.
A definite no. Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. There we go. So we have the full range of responses.
Yes.
So we'll follow up later for more details on the reasons behind and share them with everyone. But let me hand back to William just for closing comments. But from my side, thanks very much to all the panel for the insightful presentations.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Laurent, Alexandra, and Tatsuo. It was great to listen to everyone, and the presentation content was amazing. Once again, thank you for taking the time. I know the end of January is always extremely busy. To you and to our attendees, thank you so much for participating. This webinar is being recorded, and we'll have it on our website, so everybody attending will get a link to that as well. And like we mentioned in the beginning, we'll be having one of these webinars each quarter, so you can expect the next one in Q2. Thank you so much, everyone. Please stay safe and take care. We hope to see you soon.